The British state has effectively declared war on the British people. As a recap, a 14-year-old girl was allegedly assaulted by a migrant housed at a local hotel. The local council fights back, and in a rare victory for common sense, the High Court orders the hotel to be cleared. But the British government's response was not to protect the community, it was to use your money to sue its own people, to drag that council into the Court of Appeal to make sure that the migrants stayed. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how the Epping Hotel case proves the existence of a formal two-tier state in Britain, where you are a second-class citizen, and you'll hear from the mouths of the government lawyers and the senior judge himself how the entire establishment is complicit in this betrayal. Let's be absolutely clear about what happened. This wasn't a policy debate, this was an act of political warfare. When the people of Epping, through their democratically elected council, won a legal victory to protect their community, the Labour government wouldn't tolerate it. They deployed the full force of the state, not against the channel smugglers, and not against the criminals, but against British citizens. As the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick put it, Yvette Cooper used taxpayer money, your money, to keep open a hotel housing illegal migrants. The Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp was even more blunt. This was, he said, the Labour government using the courts against the British public. The government's defenders will tell you this was simply about procedure, that they had a legal duty to prevent chaos and ensure an orderly closure of asylum hotels. Well, the only chaos in Epping was the chaos created by the government's catastrophic failure to control our borders. Their idea of order is to force a town to live in fear next to a crime scene. A government's first and only non-negotiable duty is to the safety of its own citizens. Using international law as an excuse to sue your own people is a perversion of that duty. It's tyranny masquerading as paperwork. This was a brutal demonstration of power. The state you fund now views you not as a citizen to be served, but as an obstacle to be managed and, if necessary, crushed. Why? Well, to understand that, we have to understand the new legal code that they operate by. And what that's effectively done, in my opinion, is codify the two-tier state. So this case will be remembered for the moment the mask slipped completely. In the Court of Appeal, the government's lawyers laid out their real beliefs for everyone to see. They officially argued for a two-tier system of rights. And I quote, "Asylum seekers' rights are more important than the concerns of the people of Epping." The Home Office are literally telling us what they think. Their written submission to the court stated that their duty to asylum seekers under Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights establishes non-derogable fundamental human rights. Non-derogable, absolute, infallible. Well, what about the rights of the people of Epping? Their right to enforce their own planning laws and live in safety? That, according to the government, was merely an interest to be balanced away. And the court agreed. The judges ruled that the lower court had made a mistake by underestimating the public interest in preventing destitution for asylum seekers, compared to the fears of the local community. As Nigel Farage said, illegal migrants have more rights than the British people under Starmer. And it's not a slogan, it's now officially the legal position of the British state. Now, the activists will claim that human rights are universal and they must be protected for everyone. Well, okay, fair enough. But the right to be housed in a specific hotel next to 5 schools in defiance of local law after a resident is charged with assaulting a child is not a human right. It's a politically invented privilege, granted by a hostile elite that's twisted the language of compassion to place the housing convenience of 138 men over the fundamental right of a British child to be safe. That's the chilling reality. The legal system's been rewired to work against you. But for that system to function, it needs enforcers. And in Epping, the court itself revealed its role as a political weapon. The court is, in effect, the political enforcer. The Court of Appeal didn't just overturn the injunction, it revealed its true motive. The presiding judge, Lord Justice Bean, stated in his judgment that a key reason for the decision was, and I quote, the undesirability of incentivising protests. Let that sink in. A senior British judge admitted his legal ruling was designed to stop you and people like you from protesting. He framed legitimate democratic protest against government policy as further lawlessness to be stamped out. Well, who is Lord Justice Bean? He's a man with a 28-year history of deep connections to the Labour Party before he became a judge. The former chairman of the Socialist Fabian Society, former treasurer of the Society of Labour Lawyers, and a founding member of the progressive activist Matrix Chambers. The legal establishment will claim that this is an unfair smear, that judges are professionals who leave their politics at the door, and that the court was simply trying to prevent mob rule. But frankly, that's an insult to your intelligence. When a judge with a lifetime of left-wing activism delivers a ruling that perfectly serves a left-wing government's agenda while admitting his motive is to suppress protest, it is not a coincidence. The mob rule was a justified reaction to a government policy that put a community in danger. The court didn't punish the cause of the anger, it punished the people for being angry. Frankly, that is ideology in a wig and a gown. The realisation is profound. The government sues you, the legal system demotes you, and the courts exist to silence you. So who are they doing it all for? Well, let's look at the men that they have fought so hard to protect, the vulnerable refugees. Well, the state has deployed its immense power not for weeping mothers and children, but to protect 138 people, officially described as predominantly men, predominantly single adult men. I mean, the two individuals charged with serious crimes from the Epping Hotel were not children. They were adult men, aged 38 and 32, respectively. And this isn't an anomaly. It's part of a very disturbing national pattern. An investigation by The Telegraph found that in just 8 months of 2025, residents of asylum hotels were charged with 425 offences, including 109 violent offences and 44 S offences. I have to choose my language carefully because this is YouTube. I mean, it's no wonder the council's own lawyers described the Bell Hotel as being more akin to a borstal than it was to a hotel. Now, you can't blame an entire group for alleged actions of a few, will be the criticism we'll get. But this isn't about collective punishment. It's about risk assessment and public safety. When a specific policy, housing large numbers of single men with no vetting and no ties to the community, creates a statistically significant crime problem, the state has a duty to stop that policy. The safety of one 14-year-old British girl is not negotiable. It outweighs the housing convenience of 138 foreign men. End of story. The narrative of compassion is just it's a cynical lie. It's a cover for a policy that makes your family and your country less safe. This isn't just a series of mistakes. When you connect the dots, it paints a pretty grim picture of the British state. The Epping case isn't an isolated incident, it's the blueprint. I mean, for decades we've seen this same pattern of betrayal. In Rotherham, a reporter, Professor Alexis J, found that the authorities failed to protect at least 1,400 children and noted that staff were nervous about identifying the ethnic origins of perpetrators for being thought of as racist. In Telford, there was a public inquiry that found that a nervousness about race was a key reason for the failure to investigate the abuse of up to 1,000 kids. What we see in Epping is the culmination of this institutional rot. It's a deliberate system where a hostile government uses your money and a captured legal system overseen by politically aligned judges to enforce the supremacy of foreign nationals over the British people. They sacrifice public safety and crush dissent to achieve their ideological goals. This isn't incompetence, it's a deliberate act of political warfare by a ruling class that holds you, your family, and your values in utter contempt. They have shown you exactly who they are. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you. If you could like, share, or subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Any feedback you have is more than welcome. This is my first video, so please have at it in the comments with any constructive criticism that you have. And let me know what you think. Have I been harsh on the government, the judicial system with my take, or do you think I'm fairly spot on? Anyway, until next time, thank you for watching.